This episode, Labor Day, the start of fall maintenance. Well, folks, Labor Day is once again upon us. It's time to get your home ready for the winter season. The Handyman pros are going to start the discussion on fall maintenance and repair. Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show, home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition is entitled Labor Day, the start of fall maintenance. To help me explain, I've got my ever-cheerful co-host and old buddy John. John, what has been going on this week?
Hey, Larry. How you doing, man? Greetings. What's been going on this week? Well, I got to tell you that I had just replaced another seal around my door, my exterior door that I found that was cracked and, is all hard and everything. So I had to replace that.
You mean after 25 years, you finally thought it was time to buy a new one?
It's kind of funny that I've replaced a lot of these seals and replaced just about all of them, but now I'm so sensitive to it, that I'm like, even when they're so cheap and they're so easy to replace, that now I look at them like, yeah, okay, time to go.
Yep, got it. So you did that. You also did a light fixture, did you not? Was it a light fixture?
I did a light fixture. I did a light fixture the other day. And, I'm pulling that thing apart, and, it was an outdoor light, and that thing had worn out after about 25 years. And when I pulled it apart, the ants and the bugs and everything were inside the whole box, and everything it was a real mess. So that's always fun to be down in the dirt and the mud, playing with stuff like that with ants crawling all over the place.
And having ants crawling all over your arms and legs. It's fabulous, right? Yeah, it's kind of a uniquely Southern thing, methinks. But it does bring, it's a natural segue. So we talked about we've got Labor Day. This show will actually drop on Labor Day. And we decided to do a show based on fall maintenance. And so those two items are kind of something that falls into that home maintenance issue that you should do pretty much, particularly if you live in cold climates. Of course, you want to check your door seals and things, but that applies here in the South and even in the summertime if you keep the cold air in and the warm air out. But it started to do that, and the weather is starting to change, is it not, John?
It actually is. It's funny. I was just looking out the window, and here comes the wind. We haven't had really a lot of wind for a while now because we're kind of in that summer doldrums. But you can kind of tell that. Things are starting to change out there. Yeah. And I know that our forecast in a week here or so is we're going to start to get some temperature drop. So
I think the biggest thing I notice is the days actually do get shorter, right?
Oh, they're very shorter now. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's time to get ready for winter, as they say. But let's set the stage, John. Why did we decide to talk about this on Labor Day?
Well, I think that's the end of traditionally Labor Day is kind of the end of summer. It's been a great summer, no doubt about it, but it has been torture. Let's put it that way down here from the temperature perspective, and probably everywhere else. And I'm kind of looking forward to it, but it's the end. It's the end, and now it's time to get ready for fall. And what we'll talk about here, and because I was just redoing the door, I kind of reminded myself that hey, if I have to replace a door seal on the bottom of the door, which a lot of times I have to take the door off, now's the time to do it before the snow or before it gets really cold out. If I'm going to open the house up.
And I was going to say, both you and I, we lived in northern climates, right? So we really understand that. Particularly, we now live in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, in Atlanta, Georgia, folks, just if you haven't figured out in the South or anywhere in a warm climate, right, it stays warm enough to open the doors up until like October, maybe even into November. You have some 70-degree days in November, which is really nice. But growing up, I grew up outside Rochester, New York. You grew up in Chicago, right? In November, would you ever leave the door standing open?
No.
No.
Well, especially in my neighborhood, I'd never leave a door open.
Well, you would. You'd just be armed, protecting yourself. But anyway, be that as it may. Yeah, I mean, it's just, and I do remember from years and years of being up in the north and growing up there that about Labor Day, gosh, the weather actually really started to turn. It actually started to get cold. I mean, cold is relative, but it would get down into the 60s. Daytime temperatures would be in the 60s. Well, that's a vast departure from the 90 degrees of the summer.
Right.
So you really, even then, you didn't really want it. Your body's acclimatized to the warm weather and things like that. You really don't want to leave the doors standing open. So we got talking about it before the show, right? And we decided, let's start talking about some of the things that you need to do, particularly on the outside of your house, that while the weather's still warm, right? Because you want to be comfortable doing some of these jobs. You really don't want to, I don't know about you, but I hated shoveling snow. I hated it. Had to do it, of course. You had to do it, but not my favorite job, when it's 10 or 20 out, it's
right.
like awful. And I certainly wouldn't want to be doing any major home maintenance outside my home. So I like to do it now, in the fall time when it's like 65 in the afternoon. It's really nice. You get out there. And here in the South, right, you still have to do these things, but you don't want to do it in the oppressive heat of the night. You don't do it in the summertime because it's 100 freaking degrees out and you're going to die,
right.
So
right.
Anyway, so that's kind of what we were talking about, right, John? So what sort of things do we think that people should do?
Well, like I said, what came to me was obviously if the door, for right now, and it's kind of interesting that the transition, right now I didn't want to take my door off because the air conditioner's still going,
right.
So everybody's going to start to get into those transition days when, you can actually open up the windows again a little bit without the furnace or the air conditioning being on. And that's a great day to, do those kind of things, take the door off the hinge, if you have to, or, work on things that have to open up your house. And I will say that one of the things that I do, and it's going to be coming up here, and everybody, you can take this as a tip as well, is to, fire up your furnace.
Yeah, it's time to fire up your furnace. Even here in the South, where we don't expect cold weather until December, right?
No, I got it. Yeah, I always do it. I've learned that. I've had to fix my furnace before. It didn't come on. It didn't come on. They get
if you don't use them, they get dust in them, and the pilot lights and stuff like that, or the ignition systems on new ones. Obviously, they get a little dust in them. You need to blow them out. So our goal here is to save time, money, and aggravation, right? Why would we test it now? Well, right?
Yeah.
Why wait until the day that it gets cold and everybody's furnace doesn't come on? So if you need to call that technician, John, is he going to come to you straight away on that day?
No, that's a good point. And there won't be any availability. So now's the time to act on that. And if you have to have your furnace worked on, now's the time to do it before you need it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of, that's like we say, we want to save you time, money, and aggravation. That's an aggravation saver right there. The other side of it is you might be able to save a little money because you talk to your HVAC guy if you need an HVAC guy. But even if you talk to your HVAC guy, around here in the South, the guy's gonna be like, "What? You want me to check your furnace in September?" It's like, well, yeah, because I want to be ahead of the game. And, they got to be like, well, I'll be out in like 3 weeks. You go, well, that's okay. It's 3 weeks. That's okay. That works, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
no doubt.
Yeah. It's just a good one.
I mean, I got caught up in my own, when it didn't work. And I had to buy a whole new blower control board that I put. That's another story, but I had to put that thing in there. But I found out just by, testing it out before I needed it. Hey, this thing wasn't working. I mean, I was thinking to myself, here we go, and I did fix it. But you're absolutely right. Now's the time to do it. And the availability of the technicians are, they're going to be around now. But that day when everybody's furnace goes on or they don't go on, nope, they're going to be booked up.
Yep. So that's one thing. What else we got? What else, John? What else were we thinking about? We're sort of focusing. That's the one inside thing we wanted to tell people was a furnace. Check your furnace, right? So anyway.
Yes. The other thing that I've been looking at is staining. I've been talking about this for a while. I put some new wood on the deck and things like replace some wood, and now it's time. So that's something I'm going to the store. I'm going to get the stain and any paint that I need, so that when the day I find some time, that I'm going to have those supplies and I'm going to be able to go out and hit it. Because I'm going to have to, pressure wash my deck down a little bit, and then I'm going to, I'm going to restain it. I'm kind of looking forward to it, actually, to bring it back up to, nice again.
You're going to make it look pretty.
I'm going to make it look good, and I just want to get all that. I want to get those supplies. So that's something that you should be looking at right now. Once again, take advantage of the nice weather, and I'm also going to try to do it before all the leaves come off the tree.
Yeah.
The trees, because once that happens, boy,
forget it.
Yeah, forget it. Forget staining. It's gonna your whole deck's gonna be filled with leaves.
And so I distinctly remember this is definitely kind of a southern thing. So we tend to paint and stain in the south in the fall versus in the spring. I always remember up north we usually did it in the spring and early summer, just mostly because the reverse was true. The weather was so good. But here in the South, at least here in the greater Atlanta area for sure, you don't do anything in the spring when it comes. You don't put anything sticky down anywhere in the spring because the pollen will get on it and forget it. You got a finish that you're not going to want. So it is definitely a kind of. But
if you haven't done it, right. If you haven't done something like that before, let's say April, you're done.
You're done. You're done. You're done till the fall.
You're done because it's gonna be a mess.
But up north, they can do that. They can paint and stain more. And even in the summertime, it's not as hot. Oh my God. Ugh.
Right. I just wanted to get this done before winter. Before winter hits, and the snow and whatever we get down here is
rain.
I don't want that hanging around on the new wood. I mean, it's time to seal the whole thing back up. So this is a tip for everybody to kind of take a look at the weather catches, the seasons are about to change.
So the rain and the snow and stuff brings up another question. Should we be checking? Like, what about gutters? Do you check your gutters this time of year? I know I do.
Absolutely. I just did. Now here, and I'm sure everywhere, when I was up north, it's the sticks, everything is falling in your gutters anyways, from the trees and everything. Here we have a lot of pine needles and stuff. And I just did a job that I mean, the gutters were a mess. But it's good to clean them out now. You're probably going to have to, after fall, it's going to have to be cleaned out again. But, typically right now we could get into, usually we have some really good weather right now that can be a dry spell, but it's nice to have your gutters cleaned out, because if you get a lot of this rain coming in the fall, transitioning into winter, boy, you're going to really want your gutters to be cleaned out.
Yeah, I agree. One quick tip. This is just a quick tip. It just came to me when I clean my gutters. I have two tools that I use to clean my gutters, right? So one is I take a half-gallon milk jug and I cut the end out of it, right? And I make a scoop. And that's just, that's a very, very inexpensive, and it works really, really well. The other thing I have too is just a regular spatula that I bought at, I can't remember, probably Walmart or something, but just a regular spatula, same deal. But that allows me not, putting your hands in those gutters sometimes, back to your bug question, at least here in the South, you'll get bugs, you'll get ants and stuff up in there. You don't necessarily want to stick your hand in there, but it's a pretty dirty job sometimes too. But those two things really work well. So I'm throwing that out there because I just thought of it.
Yeah, well, the gutter, those aluminum gutters are sharp too. You cut your hands up.
Yeah, you can cut your hands up too. So yeah, that are really big rubber gloves too, just depending on what the particulars are. But anyway, clean the gutters, take a look at them. And one thing too I find is if I clean my gutters out this time of year, I get what you were talking about. You get the heavy debris out, the shingle sand and you get the comp, where it's actually some of the leaves have rotten down. You get all that stuff out, and then when the leaves fall in it, you just get up on your roof with a blower and blow them out. Right. That's what works for me, because it's light at that point. You're just blowing off.
Right. That's a good tip.
You're just blowing off trips. Other thing. What else should we be looking for, John? What are some of the things that?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm looking at trimming my bushes one more time before the.
So speaking of bugs, can you check for hornets before you go and do that this time?
Oh my God! Yeah, that is definitely on my list. You know,
So folks, I mentioned that in a former show. John actually gave that tip out where when you're cutting up your bush, he was cutting his bushes. I should let you tell the story, but he's cutting his bushes, and he did not realize he had a hornet's nest in the inside of the bush, like one of the cone hornet's nests. You know, the things that like you see like in the trees and stuff. And as he cuts the bushes, of course,
they were up for the attack, man, and that's something you know. You just be careful. But I think you know right now I'm I'm going to do that for the last time just to get that out of the way, because I'd like to get everything out of the way right now and kind of enjoy the fall without having a whole lot of outside stuff to do. I mean, there's going to be enough to do anyways with everything falling out of the trees and everything, but it's nice to get all that stuff done right now and take advantage of the weather.
We love the fall. We love the fall because it's one of the few times, again, here in the South, it's one of the few times you can actually sit outside and be comfortable. So I want to have a little recreation time, not work time, at home. So that's my take on it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be spraying for bugs. We probably just talked about bugs, but that'll be the next thing I'm going to be doing too. One last time, spraying around my doors and stuff like that, because I've noticed bugs transition.
Yeah, they
do.
Into
your house, out of your house, and during this during the summer, a lot of big palmetto bugs here, the big roaches and stuff start to try to get in. Now they won't be coming in as much during the fall, but other things like spiders, whatever. But it's good.
Rodents in general will transition with the weather.
And rodents, oh God, yeah.
So it's definitely a good time it brings up another thing. I didn't even really think about this beforehand, but do check for any kind of damage on your soffits and your trims, because the rats, the mice, the squirrels, last year, John, you remember my stories from last year. We had the infamous squirrel issue in my roof, which you've seen. I need to post that video on our website. Anyway, I had squirrels living in my roof, and it drives you crazy. Well, they were not there over the summer, right? They were not there. It was too hot, I think. Really, I think that's really what it was. It was just too hot. Happens. So, but boy, that fall time, that weather cooled off, and those little guys started coming back in. I'm using nice words because that was not what I was thinking of. But they would come back. They were coming back in. So check and make sure that everything's sealed up too. It's a pretty good check while you're up looking at your gutters, and just even in and around the bases of your house and stuff. And John, you're just, when you say you're spraying for bugs, you're doing like a perimeter spray? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
So what product do you use?
Something from I bought it at one of the big box stores, like a Ortho or something like that. And
there's a couple of good ones. Yeah.
There's a couple of good ones. It comes like in a gallon thing, and it has some of them have like just a little battery operated spray on it too, which is fantastic. I've had one that I've been using now for close to 3 years, which is almost out, but I go around the house all the time with this thing. And it does a fantastic job. Even when I had the termite guy out here, he's like, man, he said, usually I'm see bugs everywhere where I look, in an inspection. He goes, you don't have anything.
Yeah. I use the same thing. I happen to buy the refills and fill up. I use a 1 gallon, gallon pump sprayer just because I don't know, it's easier, I think, for me. Plus I use them for the rental houses and stuff because I use actually a lot of it. But because I do all the houses, so I've got 3 or 4 houses I've got to do. But anyway, I just use a 1 gallon pump spray, and the same thing. And you walk the whole edge of the perimeter of the house. Is that how you do it?
Yeah.
And just spray. I spray like a 3 or 4 inch wide spray barrier all the way around the house, and I hit the door frames and any openings in the house I hit really hard too. Not to get into a big pest control issue, but it's not that difficult, folks. It's really not. Those products are really good. They really work. I've had great luck. I use Ortho or Spectracide, either way, just to use brand names, but I've had great luck with that stuff. And it's, as you say, John, those big palmetto bugs, they come in and they start going toes up almost immediately.
Oh yeah.
It's fabulous.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it's you take care of stuff like that. You can, I've really learned that, once you do that, and you take care of that kind of stuff, you're in for more of a peaceful time, let's just say, especially without the bugs running around and
you're running across you when you're asleep.
People are screaming in your house and stuff. But
isn't that awesome? I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I do too in the fall time is I do a basic safety check around my house. I make sure that, like, I'm looking for. I want to make sure outlet covers are on. Here in the South, we put the faucet covers on, so I always check that kind of stuff. I don't do it just yet, but I make sure I have them because I want to make sure I have the stupid things. But I do check. Like, I always check my outside electrical. I make sure my covers are actually closed and still watertight, on the outside ones, and make sure the ground faults still work. So I will move that into the inside a little later in the season, but I'm checking for batteries on smoke detectors and checking my fire extinguishers and smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors and all that stuff. So basic safety check, make sure you got the stuff that, make sure the stuff that if you need it, it's there and it's working. I usually do it usually around this time of year. It's either Labor Day or maybe Columbus Day is usually one of my days I do that kind of stuff too, just because it's on the calendar,
Right. And, and while you're thinking about it, it's something to change the batteries and the smoke alarms and things like that if you're thinking about it now. I mean, now's the time usually, you kind of would do that around the time we change the time and all that kind of stuff. But I do it now, and we're good to,
It's because it's Labor Day, John. You're supposed to be laboring.
Yeah. So, it's kind of a long weekend, and I usually take one of those days to do this kind of stuff, to work around there and just get some of this stuff done. There's just a lot. There's always a lot to do, especially as a homeowner. And I know a lot of folks out there, if you're the first time homeowners, and you're going through your first 4 seasons in that home, you're probably experiencing all this right now.
You're experiencing what the previous homeowner didn't do.
Right.
Surprise, right?
Yep. And you're going to be learning. You're going to be learning about the difference in the 4 seasons and how it acts on the house and what comes crawling in.
Yeah.
It tries to come crawling into your house.
Tries to come in.
Especially if you live around where I live. Yeah, those are the kind of things that I look at, Larry.
There's one other thing that I always look at the fall time. So in Atlanta, John, you have to agree, the fall and winter time is really rainy. It's very wet, right? So I actually go out and make sure my drainages work. Now that my house we have a downstairs semi-subterranean basement, right? So it's built into a hill, and I am, of course, being in the handyman business, like we just know what water damage does to houses and things like that. We talk about it all the time. But I always check to make sure this time of year that my drainage is clear. We actually have, I don't want to say they're channels and they're not French drains, but the swale is in our house actually diverts the water around the house, well around the house. And I make sure that there's nothing that's impeding that. And I want to make sure that there's no places where over the summer something's happened and the drainage has actually changed. So I just do a real general visual inspection. I also have drains, actually drains in the ground, so I clean off the gasket, or not the gaskets, but I got the grates on the top of them, and I clean those off. So that's just because we know it's going to rain. It's going to start raining and not stop for several months, so we want to get that done long in advance. But yeah, after all that work's done, John, then what do we do?
Then we relax, have a drink, and hopefully everybody out there had listened to one of our other tips, which was to look at your grill before the summer start. Make sure that thing was working, and enjoy your grill during this holiday.
That's right. Are we grilling anything special or not?
I don't know. That's kind of a mystery. I think it's on a Saturday, I think, this time. So I have not heard yet.
Oh, all right, cool. Well, folks, we appreciate your questions and comments, and if you have any concerns or anything, please send us an email, questions@Handyman Pros Radio Show. Go to our website, leave us a message. That's handymanprosradioshow.com. We have a Facebook group that's @Handyman Pros. You can leave us messages. There's all kinds of ways to get a hold of us. So, John, I was out grilling the other day. This is no lie. I'm sitting there grilling, and this thing walks over. I don't know how you describe it, but it was this green guy, and he had these big eyes, and I'm cooking on the grill, and he's like pointing at it, and I go, "Hey, man, I tell you what, I'll trade you that." And I look over and there's a spaceship. I said, "I'll trade you this for that." And you know what he said? He said, "Yes." So guess what we're taking apart this weekend?
Taking apart the spaceship. I thought maybe did he bring his own mustard and ketchup?
I'm not sure, but I know it's landed, and I'm taking it apart. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this podcast and have derived some value from it, here's 4 things you can do. 1, tell your friends about this podcast. 2, hit subscribe on your podcast player. While you're there, leave us a review. 3, subscribe to our newsletter by going to handymanprosradioshow.com and click on the subscribe button. We'll inform you of upcoming events, shows, and give you actionable tips for maintaining your home and property. And 4, send us an email with your questions to questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. That's handymanprosradioshow.com. That's our show for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.